Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very special product owner role dedicated episode with David Pereira. Hi, David. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Vasco. Thank you.
So David is a passionate product owner who loves leading teams in building solutions that challenge the status quo. He's also written a free book about the product owner role where he lists the top 7 mistakes of a product owner. And you can get that book at bit.ly/PO7 mistakes. That is bit.ly/PO, the numeral 7 mistakes, all in one word, all in lower case. So David, in your article that we will link to in the show notes, you talk about the specific myth about the product owner. And I think it's good to start there because I'm sure that many of our listeners have thought about it and probably think the same way, that the product owner is the role that owns the backlog. And you say that's a myth. That's quite the statement. So describe your perspective for us.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. At the beginning of my career as a product owner, I believe the product owner was the only one managing the backlog. So the myth is, when we say the product owner is accountable for the product log, that means we are in charge of the outcome of that. However, it doesn't mean that we should block the others from collaborating. So the myth is about the only one who can insert items into the product backlog that holds collaboration. And it's totally against Agile and also Scrum. So I learned that, I would say, from my mistakes, because I didn't want anyone else to touch the backlog. I wanted to talk to people, and then I would create the items, and then I would evaluate. But actually, we should motivate the others to collaborate with us so that we understand what they mean, and then being accountable for that, we should evaluate the goals we want to achieve and then look into the backlog and order in a way that makes sense to lead us to these goals. So that's what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the aspects that I come back to over and over again is the fact that product owner is in Scrum the accountable role for the product backlog. But actually, a lot of things that happen that affect directly the product backlog are not defined by the product owner, right? So from the business perspective, priorities are typically set by business realities, whatever that is, wanting to introduce a new product, having to add features because of the competitive pressure, adding an integration with a third party, like whatever that is. These are typically business side requirements or needs. And then, of course, on the technical side, we have the team who's the role that is the expert on the technology development. And they have a lot of ideas how certain things should be done. And they might even have ideas that are quite different from the product owner. And if we don't allow that collaboration to emerge, we end up with a product backlog that is, let's say, ignorant of the business realities and not really taking advantage of the technology, right?
Exactly. I totally agree with you. And I have seen like that because it depends a lot on the business that the product owner is. Most of the case, the product owner will be in charge of ordering, for example, building a new product. That is already the priority. But what is important to reach the goal of the product? So that's when it comes a product owner to understand what matters for the product. But the priority was already defined from the business side.
Absolutely. And in that article, again, we'll link the article that you published in the show notes. In that article, there are other 4 anti-patterns that you describe. I like to talk about roles in the form of anti-patterns because, they challenge some assumptions and they kind of give insights as well as describing things to look out for, right? It kind of gives us a good map to avoid those mistakes. So there are 4 other anti-patterns that you describe in your article. So let's quickly review those and then we'll dive into each of them and learn how to deal with it. But let's go through those 4. So what are those 4 anti-patterns, David?
Okay, so the 4 anti-patterns that I define they are the order taker, and the second is like the responsible for the team, the product owner acting this way. And then the third, we come to the technical architect, and the last, the only one who manages the backlog.
Right, and let's dive to this order taker anti-pattern. So share a story with us of how that may happen in practice, maybe even how you have seen it happen in practice.
Yes, so let me go through that. Before, I just want to say a secret. All of these anti-patterns, actually, I've been playing this kind of thing, so that's why I have quite an experience on that. So I will share from my perspective. The order taker is like a waiter. The difference is the waiter takes the orders and give to the kitchen, and the PO takes the orders or the wishes from the stakeholders and give to the team without challenging. What are we fighting for? What is the business value behind that? It's like a people pleaser. The product owner wants to please everyone so that everyone gets a little bit inside every sprint. But then the problem of that is once everything is a priority, nothing is, and we fail to maximize the value for the business. And I would say in the short term, we may make the stakeholders happy, but we are delivering what they want, what may not be what the users and the customers need. So this anti-pattern goes totally against what the product owner is supposed to be, which is the value maximizer. Understand from all the wishes that come, what matters, what is important to maximize the value for the business. So this is a scenario that I have been at the beginning of my career. A lot of people were coming to me, we need to do this feature and improve this and so on. And I was saying yes. And I was trying to put features into this sprint. And at the end, actually, we deliver features that nobody wants, nobody uses, because we are not maximizing the value. So that's what I mean by the order taker.
So when you were going through that anti-pattern, I'm sure that over time you got some specific lessons that help you to understand what the anti-pattern was and also how to avoid it. So how should we as Scrum Masters help product owners that are caught in this order taker anti-pattern to get out of it and maybe to focus on, customer value as you were describing?
Yes, exactly. So from my learning was one specific aspect of Scrum. The Scrum Master could help me to work with sprint goals, because once you fall into the order taker anti-pattern, you cannot set a sprint goal, because a sprint goal will be deliver feature A and feature B and feature C. That's not a sprint goal at all, because it's not leading the team anywhere. But the Scrum Master could ask the product owner, what is the value we are maximizing? Can we start defining a sprint goal? And once we can craft that, we will only prioritize the product backlog items that are connected to that. So the Scrum Master, once he did that, it helped me quite a lot to understand I was going totally to the wrong direction.
All right, let's make this very practical. When you talk about what is the value that we are trying to maximize, give me an example of how that has happened in your career. What were some of the answers to that question?
Okay, that's very good. So once I was working in e-commerce, I was prioritizing, for example, some improvements in the checkout, some improvements on the search, and some improvements on the product detail page. And then the Scrum Master said to me, what are you fighting for? And actually, we want to maximize our customer acquisition. So actually, what I was doing was not connected to that. So maximizing the customer acquisition, then we crafted a goal, which was like, let's use the benefit of the NPS, because we had a higher net promote score. It means our customers were willing to recommend us. They loved our service. So we said, at the end of this sprint, we should be able to allow our customers to bring their own friends to our platform. So we start building a member get member. So the goal was customer acquisition.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually a brilliant story, because through the conversation you had with the Scrum Master, you were actually able to dig and find something that wasn't even in the original list of improvements that you were prioritizing.
Exactly, but that was related to the wishes I was receiving from the stakeholders, but had nothing to do with the goals I was supposed to be fulfilling.
Yeah, that's actually a very important point. Many teams out there are actually working without a sprint goal. And obviously, there's this conversation you just described as a way to get there. What other ways have you found that help you and, of course, other product owners understand and define that sprint goal?
That helped me, for example, is by talking to the business, and instead of taking the orders and saying, like, what kind of KPIs do you want to monitor? And I would say looking into the numbers and searching for place to improve. If no one is defining the business value, it's our role as product owner to understand, for example, the health of our product. Going back to this scenario that I said in the e-commerce, what I realized at some point in time, we had a big bounce rate and some specific traffic source. It means that our rejection was too big. What was happening that? Then I realized that we were focusing too much in one direction, but we forgot to keep our clients. People were coming to the website, but they were leaving us in 3-4 seconds. And I found that by looking into the numbers, into Google Analytics. So if we don't have the business value defined from somebody else, we should search for that. Let's look into the numbers and understand the healthy of our product.
Exactly. And that's actually one of the key aspects of the product owner, right? To understand the product beyond the surface, to go deeper, to understand the metric.
Exactly. And many product owners fail on that.
Yeah, and many product owners fail on that indeed. So, David, let's move on to the second anti-pattern, though. So the second one you describe is that product owner that acts as if they are the one responsible for the team. What do you mean by that?
This, I mean, like the product owner forgets that he is part of the team and not on the top of the team. Some POs behave as manager, and I would say more like as a project manager. And this is common to see once product owners start saying things like, my developers. So I will assign the task to developer A, I will assign this task to another developer. So they go, for example, to the daily scrum and they look at people and say, how far are you on that? I want you to do this. I want you to do that. And this is holding the team from being self-organized. And also the team will get totally unmotivated to work with the product owner because the product owner is not giving the teams a set of goals to achieve, but instead giving them a set of tasks to do. And beyond that, telling the team what to do and who to do. And the product owner should step back and work with the team and say, this is the goal I want to achieve. How can we do that? But the word is we and not you directly to one person or to the team, because we are a single team. And the example I can say, once the product owner is under pressure, like I did that, I wanted to push the team to deliver fast. And then I was going directly to the developers who I knew they were working on that. And I was pressuring them to make it happen. But this is a lack of trust. And this is what I needed to work on to overcome this anti-pattern.
One of the things that comes to mind is exactly that, what you just described, which is this wanting to push the team to deliver faster. What I've seen is that product owners that get into that anti-pattern, at some point, they look at the teams as an obstacle rather than a partner in the development of the product. Have you seen that dynamic emerge, David?
Yes, unfortunately, I've seen that many times. And I've seen, for example, product meetings where the product owners discuss among each other. And I heard sentence like, well, I cannot deliver that. My team is not productive. So the team is an obstacle. They are getting stuck all the time. I don't know what is happening. And this is critical because instead of doing that, the PO should ask to the team, like, what can we do? How can I help you? And then how can we overcome this challenge together? So this is what is missing.
What are the techniques when working with product owners that are kind of stuck in that anti-pattern? What are the techniques and tools you have seen that work to help the product owners to kind of step back and understand how they may improve their collaboration with the team?
Actually, is building a team, I would say, because once the product owner is working like that, it's clear for me that there is no trust between product owner and the development team. And the techniques I have seen is the 5 dysfunctions of a team. And once we start understanding each other, we trust each other. So we give the room to work together as a team. And then we are ready to go into conflicts. Because if the PO, for example, is acting like that, it means the PO is not ready to go into conflicts, or the team is not ready to challenge the PO. And then we need to build a team and find a way how to collaborate. And the 5 dysfunctions of a team has helped me understand how to work as a real team and not only as a group of people, which is totally different than a team.
Yeah, absolutely. The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team is a book we've talked about quite often here on the podcast, and at least in my mind, it describes very well what are the stages that teams need to go through, and in this case, of course, the product owner being part of that team, the stages that they need to go through in order to become a high-performing team. One of the things that comes to mind when it comes to this responsible for the team or feeling that they own the team, kind of the team as an order taker, right? It's like reversing the anti-pattern we talked about before, is that the product owner becomes the order giver and the team becomes the order taker. One of the things that I have seen also work well is to actually work through one of the techniques we mentioned already today, which is to define the sprint goal, right? Because once we start talking about why we are doing certain things, then the teams can bring in their, technological innovation and their ability to communicate, to bring new ideas to the discussion, which then helps the product owner understand that, hey, maybe if I step back a little bit more and just set direction, the team can really help me achieve the goals that we have for the product.
Exactly. I totally agree with that. And this is also a way to help the Scrum to scale. Because if the product owner is ready to give directions, it means that the product owner can start having multiple teams and give directions to them so that they can scale. Otherwise, the product owner needs to micromanage every specific team, and that holds the PO from scaling.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually a very good point, is that the more the team and the product owner are able to collaborate, the more we scale the product owner role. And as we know, when products are a success, you need more people. And the worst thing we can do is to put new people that have no knowledge of the product to try to do that role.
Exactly. I have seen that, and it's a total failure. And I have also seen another problem is like a product owner can, I would say, lead only one team of 5, 6 developers. And then once a new team comes to collaborate in the same product, a new product owner is hired. And then the conflicts happen quite often because there's one product owner, I would say, leading the team to one direction and the other leading the team to another direction. Yet the product is the same.
So then we talk about the third anti-pattern. And this one is quite interesting for me because it's also, as I've seen it, quite common in technology companies, right? And I've worked a lot in technology product companies. This anti-pattern, you call it the product owner as the technical architect. Describe what that anti-pattern looks like in practice, David.
That looks like one developer who becomes a product owner. In this case, I'm talking about myself. The first moment I became a product owner, I came from the development role. So I used to think I should represent the team, but not only that, instead of representing the business, I thought I needed to represent the development team and help them to achieve. So it looks like that. In the member get member example, I would come to the team and say, we want to find a way how to acquire more customers. So we want to build a member get member. So now I said the motivation, the why, and the what. But then I would cross the border of the how, and I would tell the team exactly how to build that. And I would say I would even step into the part of defining like the database structure, which technology should you use. And this is not the role of product owner, because if we are doing that, then what the developers will tell the product owner, okay, so now we are no more than code writers because we are executing what you tell us and how you tell us to do it. So we are not a self-organized team anymore. We are no more than writers, code writers in this case.
So for me, this anti-pattern comes from a lack of, I would call it a strong counterpart to the PO in the team itself. The team has, in this case, potentially little or no technical leadership. They just sit back and take orders, right? So what do you see might be the causes for this anti-pattern, and how should we prepare to work with a product owner that starts to kind of show that they want to cross the border of the how, as you described it?
Exactly. So I see this, one of the cause is a product owner with a strong technical background, and I would say a weak business background, because I believe an excellent product owner is also an excellent product manager who understands the business. And once the PO comes from the business side, the PO may lack this knowledge, and the PO needs a strong partner, as you mentioned, to help him to get to this part. So this is one part of the solution. And the other is about the development team. If they are not ready to make the technical decisions, it is a problem, because then as a team, we need to find how to make that. And the Scrum Master should notice this and, I would say, guide both sides, the product owner to give the space to the team to reach the knowledge that is required to make the technical decisions, and also to encourage the team to make the technical decisions without the direction of the product owner, who is behaving like the technical architect in this case. So the team needs to learn how to be self-organized so that they can make their decisions, their technical decisions. But that needs coaching.
Absolutely. And how about the aspect, I don't know if you have had that experience, but I'd be interested to hear your opinion. How about the aspect of the team themselves lacking technical leadership? So, I know of a specific case where the PO used to be a lead developer for a team, then they become the product owner, and the team, of course, didn't have anymore the lead developer because the lead developer was now the product owner, and he got into this anti-pattern, and because the team didn't have a representative from the team that would have that technical leadership, they just listened to the PO and pretty much did what the PO said. Have you seen this anti-pattern in reality?
Yes, I have seen. It was in a scenario where the team, the development team, had the technical leader, and this figure was always helping the team to do that. But this person left the team, and then the team was without a technical leader. However, the team didn't know how to make decisions without this figure, yet the team had the knowledge, but didn't learn how to work without the person directing them inside the team. And it took quite a while for them to understand that they should discuss among themselves and figure out what to do without having a technical leader. Because in this case that I'm talking about was already here in Germany, and the technical lead position, he was moved to a more, I would say, principal engineer, a vast position, and he left the team, and the team was also without direction. So in this case, it was a sequence of failed sprints. So that's what I have to say, because of a lack of technical decisions. Took around 3 sprints to figure out how to move forward without a technical lead.
And this is, I think, where the Scrum Masters can have a huge impact, because this is the domain of collaboration, right? Collective decision-making, exploring alternatives, making decisions. That's what we should be doing, helping the team to, for example, using techniques like model storming, think about multiple technical solutions, encouraging and helping the team to actually bring suggestions to the product owner so that the team may take, if not individual, at least collective technical leadership in the relationship with the product owner.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And in this case, the Scrum Master was helping the team it took long for the team to feel comfortable and making the decisions collectively, because the team was trying to evaluate every possibility and trying to make the perfect decision. But it's important to make a decision and learn from that. In Scrum, it's important to inspect and adapt. We make a decision. If it was not the best, okay, what we learn from that, how we move forward. So this is what the mindset we had to change. And once it was changed, I have to say that the team actually was even performing better than they were before with a technical lead. They became a more efficient team with fewer team members and without a technical lead, because they learn how to make collaborative decisions.
Exactly. Collaborative decision making, which is one of the key aspects for Scrum Masters to focus on. Now, David, finally, we come to the first statement, how we started this episode, which is the product owner as the only one who manages the backlog. So, walk us through this anti-pattern. How have you seen this happen in practice? And also, how might we as Scrum Masters help the product owner get out of that anti-pattern?
Yeah. So this anti-pattern starts like this. The product owner will block everyone else from inserting items into the product backlog. So let's say that the business side has one idea, and the person would come to the PO and say, hey, I just want to share one idea I have with you, but I tried to insert into the product backlog and I couldn't. And the PO will say, okay, tell me what you want, and then I will write into the product backlog. And then someone else appears and wants to report a bug or something else. And the PO says, talk to me, and then I will write that. The PO wants to act as the only possibility of going to the product backlog. And what is the downside on that? First, the PO becomes a bottleneck, because the PO wants to talk to everyone to understand everything up front. So this is the problem, understanding up front. For example, in the scenario that should be, the PO allows the other, but not only allow, invites the other members like development team, stakeholders, to insert into the product backlog. And being accountable means looking what is important for the business and order them, so that the top we refine, so that we understand how to work on that. What is in the bottom, we leave in the bottom, and we will have less information. This anti-pattern is very dangerous because it reduces collaboration, and the PO tend also to protect the development team, or even worse, to block the development team from talking to the stakeholders, and that will lead to the development team without understanding the business properly, and I would say our result will be suboptimal.
The other thing that comes to mind, you mentioned it in passing, is that the product owner very quickly becomes the bottleneck, and as such, it reduces the quality of the backlog itself and the backlog items, because, of course, the product owner will not have time to spend a lot of time in all the items that come up. It also reduces the ability for the team members to actually work through the backlog items, clarify those without the product owner being involved in everything. And of course, it brings the PO to innumerous meetings, because now when they need to talk to everybody before anything is inserted to the backlog, that means a lot of meetings to talk to those people and understand what they are looking for.
Exactly. That brings to numerous inefficiency events, and the PO will not be able to do what the role is supposed to help to maximize the value, because in this case, the PO is doing no more than just managing the backlog. And actually, we are not supposed to manage. We are supposed to be accountable for that and order in a way that we deliver the maximum we can for the business, which is different from being in numerous meetings and talking about things that may not be relevant for the moment.
So in the role of the Scrum Master, we need to be able to help these product owners. And I see this, that the anti-pattern you described is is a failure of collaboration. And of course, this is where Scrum Master's focus should be, on collaboration. So how have you seen and how would you handle this situation as a Scrum Master? What are the tools, the approaches, the techniques we could use to bring that product owner to understand how his own job can be done better by not being that bottleneck to insert items into the backlog?
That's a very interesting question. And I think the one way of helping the product owner is, once the Scrum Master asks the PO, like, what is the most important thing we can do at the moment? What do we need to maximize the value? And then the PO will answer. For example, in my case, customer acquisition. And the Scrum Master would ask, what are you doing for customer acquisition? Then it will show a pattern. Probably the PO is focusing on multiple things, which is not related to customer acquisition. So by showing to the PO what he's doing, the PO will understand that he is prioritizing something, but not actually doing what is supposed to do related to the priority, because he prioritized to the development team, but on the other side, on the product side, he's focusing on multiple things. And then the Scrum Master will say, what about giving the stakeholders the space to help you, because they want to help you. We all want to go to the same direction. So if they can write the items, they will help you, release your capacity so that you can focus more on the goal. The example, acquiring new customers, and you understand better which approach will lead you to maximize the value. So in short, show the problem, explain the impact, and then motivate him to give the space to collaborate with the others.
Absolutely. And of course, walk that process through together with the PO as you get started, because it is a learning curve, right? If somebody is that much in control of the backlog, they probably need to get used to the idea of giving others space first.
Exactly. Mainly if the PO came from the project management discipline, I would say the PO tends to feel, I own that. This belongs to me. It's my responsibility. No one else can touch. And then it goes to this learning curve. And I would say sharpening the mindset to a more collaborative one.
Absolutely. David, we're getting close to the end, but before we do go, do tell us, where can people find out more about you and the work that you're doing? Okay,
so I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, and also Medium. And my user there is always the same. It's David A.V. Pereira. So David Pereira, you will find me in all of these. And I'm posting all of my work daily on Twitter, on Medium twice a week, and LinkedIn around 3 times a week. So am I always open? Just reach me out if you want to know anything. If you have suggestions what I should write, I will do that.
Absolutely, David. It's been a pleasure. We'll put all the links in the show notes so to make sure that all of you can easily connect with David. And David, once again, thank you very much for your generosity with your time and your knowledge.
Thank you a lot. It was a pleasure to be here. And I love sharing. Sharing is caring. That's what motivates me.
We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.